Hello, how are you doing? Awesome. Okay, so
Hello.
hello. It's so awesome to see you. I'm
I
so happy you're
know.
here.
This is so exciting.
It is. I'm very happy about it. Um, so let's see. Emily's here, and I see Slapshot is here. Awesome to see you. Glad you're here. And I see Hot Ramen is here. Nice to see you. I'm glad you're here.
Everybody.
So, to start, I'm actually going to have some Eagle Rare. It's usually what I start with.
Ooh.
Luckily, we're in an area that Cheech is able to get it.
That's good. We can't find it either. I went to my dad's house over the weekend, last weekend, I think, and he has a full bottle of Eagle Rare. And I go, can like I drink? Can I open this and drink it? And he like found it a couple of years ago, and he's like, yeah, whatever. I'm like, you don't know how rare your Eagle Rare is. So
Yeah.
that's a good pour. What do I have?
Yeah.
I think I have I accidentally poured myself Elijah Craig B520.
What?
Accidentally.
Accidentally.
Yes.
It's a good accident, though.
Exactly. I'm
So
like,
let's
oops, that was a lot. But
see.
oh well.
All right. We
I'll
have
switch to something cool
Yeah, for
later.
sure. And I see we have Isaiah's Venezuela. Hello. It's nice to see
Hello.
you. Cheers. We have Dano B. Hey, how are you doing? Glad you're here. Nice to see you. I'm glad it's not raining here. I'm sure you are as well. We have Bubble Bath Bourbon. Nice to see you. And yes, it is a night without David. We have the amazing Kira with us today. And we
It's
have
weird. I have the
Ron
whole
Edler.
area.
I know, you have so much room.
I
You don't have to share
do.
it with anyone.
I know.
All right, we have Chris Cox. What's up, y'all? Cheers. Nice to see you. Hmm. We have Mike Franklin. Awesome. We have Stacy H. Hi, everyone. Nice to see you, Stacy. We have Jerry Black. Always awesome to see you. And yes, I definitely wanted to touch on this. Chris Cox, Kira, congrats on Matt Madness win.
Oh,
So,
thank you.
since
That
I'm
was fun.
I
I
know
was
you did
super,
so well.
I can't believe I got some things right. Like, I was just surprised about getting any answer correct. And I was just so stoked. And just to do that and then to find out, like, I'm moving on. Are you joking? Like,
Awesome. Yeah. So,
I'm pumped.
in your honor, I have
Ooh,
I have some
fireball.
Fireball. So,
Where's
for
my
your
fireball?
win, I would like to cheers Kira for moving on to the next round in Matt Madness. And we're going to be doing a shot of Fireball.
Awesome.
So, cheers to you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Mmm.
I
So
made
good.
Cheech
Mother's
get it
milk.
out because it was in one of our boxes. And I'm like, I need you to get out the fireball because Kira's on. We have to cheers her. So, so thank you,
Exactly.
Cheech, for getting that out for me. I definitely appreciate that.
You're like,
Um,
thanks, Cheech.
yeah. So we have Tim Evans. Awesome. Cheers. It's awesome to see you. We have the beautiful Lilith Morgan here. Awesome. Hello. We have Independent Joe. Cheers. And nice to see you as well. We have Northwest Bourbon. Cheers. Nice to see you. Wow, we have lots of people. We're so happy you all are here.
Woo!
We have C. Jackson. Cheers, y'all. We have A and W. Whoop whoop. About time David went away. Cheers. We have Kira. Cheech is with us. Cheers, everyone. Cheers, Cheech. All right. We have Stella. What's up, ladies? Cheers, everyone. Cheers to you as well. And let's see. Oh, we have Whiskey Mountains. We have her here today with us, and she is doing great. And we're happy
Hey,
she's
David.
here. Okay, let's see. Scroll down. All right, and we have Whiskey Food Dude. Cheers. Nice to see you.
I have some food, dude.
Oh, there
Well,
you
they're
go.
just cookies.
We have Bourbon Bites Clifton. Awesome to see you. Happy you're
Hey.
here. We have Brad Smith. Cheers. It's nice to see you. All right. We have Kathy Graves. Cheers. It's nice to see you. We're glad that you're here.
You are awake, Kathy.
All right. We have Steve Skaminski. I hope I said
Steve
that right. If I didn't, let me
Zieminski.
know. Hashtag Team Kira. Hashtag Don't Tell David. Okay, so I'm happy everyone is here with the Women of Whiskeys today. Kira was so gracious to join me today. As Michelle is recuperating, she's doing wonderfully, and we do miss her, and we hope to see her soon on some more streams. I have texted with her today, so she's doing great, so
Good.
we look forward to having her back in the next week or so. And so I
Yes.
definitely want to recuperate fast, Michelle. We do miss you, and we hope to see you soon. Okay, so since Kira was so awesome to agree to this, she actually suggested the case that we are going to cover today. She had seen it on Netflix. If you guys watch the like the Bad Neighbors episodes, there is one in there about her. And there's some other documentaries regarding her. They have done some, of course, TV movies, but you always, when you watch a TV movie, they're going to take some liberty with some of the information to make it, a little bit more out there than it should be, just to have some more viewership. So there is lots to do regarding her.
Oh
So
yeah.
we are going to be covering Dorothea Puente. She is known as the Death House landlady. And so we're going to kind of get into it. She does have a lot of different information to cover. So I'm really looking forward to going through it with Kira and seeing her opinion and how she gives the information. So just quick over. So she was actually born in 1929. Her crime spree was actually later in her lifetime. It was from 82 to 88. So we're gonna go ahead and get into it. So Kira, let's go and see how it
Oh,
goes.
all right, all right. Oh my gosh, this lady. She's crazy, y'all. She's crazy. So let's get into her little years when she's just little. Poor, poor thing. I feel so, my heart just goes out to her and then it just comes right back to me. Like I'm taking it back. So, Dorothea Puente. She was born as Dorothea Helen Gray in California in 1929. So, like, that's pretty like back in the day,
Yeah,
right?
the end of the Roaring Twenties. We're getting in there.
Yes, the bread lines. What else happened in the 20? Y'all know. Okay. But so she was born into a family. They were, they didn't have a lot of money. They were, on the poverty stricken side of the spectrum. And she had 6 other siblings. Now you already know how I feel about kids, right? One and done. No, I'm just joking.
No, totally agree. Totally agree. I've got one. We're done.
One and done. That is it. 2, okay. 3, you're pushing it. 4, what's going on? What is going on? But anyway, 7 total kids in this family. Now, it would be a nice, nice enough family if the parents loved each other and liked each other, which they absolutely did not. Hated one another. So it was just already not fun growing up in this household with all of your siblings. And not to mention the 2 parents were crazy alcoholics. Not like all of us here, okay? We enjoy our whiskey, right? But we don't get cray cray.
No.
They are not good, like just not good. The father had poor guy, I mean, so many mental demons, right, going through. But he would even, which is the saddest thing to even picture, threaten suicide in front of his children. So imagine Dorothea, really young, like what I think 4 or 5-ish before everything else happened, pretty young, seeing her father distraught like this and threatening, killing himself, taking his own life in front of all of the children. So she would even go to him and kind of like talk him down, calm him down. And poor thing, I mean, just that little smidge is enough to I don't know, just cry out for this child, but that's not all that happened to her when she was growing up. Um, Her father did die in 1937, so that makes her what, like six? I
6.
think six. Of tuberculosis. Poor thing. So now she only has her mother. Her mom is not a mother of mothers. She is doesn't want anything to do with the children. It's just all about her. Who cares about the kids? She would actually lock her children up in a closet for days while she was going on these like drinking binges. And then she would come back. I kid you not. She would come back, unlock the children from the closets, right? They're in there, no bathroom, no food, nothing in a closet, make them clean up her vomit because she obviously came home from her, crazy drinking.
Oh, yeah.
She was having a mom's night and or days all over the house and make them come out and clean that up. And just think, poor Dorothea, she's already going through all this with her parents or her dad, and everything is just messed up, and she's seeing her mom handle this alcoholism, and she's got to clean up the bomb. Like, I don't know. I just feel so bad. So the mother did nothing motherly, right? Did not feed, did not clothe or bathe her children whatsoever. So if there was families around their neighborhood that would actually take care of Dorothea and her siblings. Dorothea made friends, not friends, but basically she found this Mexican family who kind of took her in and would feed her, would bathe her, just kind of be her kind of surrogate family. And she was happy whenever she was able to get over, to their house, to have a normalcy in her life there. But mother lost custody as well of the children, of course, right? She should. There's probably teachers complaining, neighbors complaining to CPS, like, these children, let's take care of them, let's get them out. And Dorothea was sent into an orphanage. And then y'all know what happens. Not a lot of kids are watching orphanages, so she was abused afterwards in the many years to come while she was growing up. The siblings were also separated, which is not super fun when you have a ton of family. That's what you know. And now everything is just gone. So I don't know. I just felt so bad. This poor little girl is just having the worst time in life right now, just dealt the shortest straw. And also not just her siblings, her surrogate Mexican family, which took care of her, right? Everybody's gone.
Everybody's gone.
Yeah, so sad. So she did leave the orphanage. All right. So we're gonna skip ahead. 1945. All right. So from 29 to 45, 16, I believe, is what it is. She left the orphanage and she got married. Now, when she got married, she told her husband that she was older, I think in like her 20s. I cannot remember.
Well, her marriage license said she was 30.
30. Okay, that's right. I remember it was something crazy.
It was
And
crazy.
I'm thinking, if you're a 16-year-old, how do you pass yourself off as 30? Like,
There
I don't
wasn't a
know.
lot of checks and balances going on back then.
That's true. You're like, well, I guess you're just a really cute 30-year-old. Like, who knows?
Yeah, there wasn't like, hey, you need to show your ID or, your birth certificate. It was like, oh, hey, this is me and I'm 30. Sweet. Sign on the dotted line and go on their way.
Exactly. That's just nuts. So, all right. So she got married. They had two kids. Dorothea also did not have that mother gene either, and she gave up her children. Now that is just sad, where she just was like, "Here, take my kid." But her second child, she went into the hospital, had labor, did not tell her husband, gave the child away, and her husband was utterly distraught. He did not want that child to be taken away. He wanted,
Yes.
that baby girl, and she was like, "Nope, I just gave it away." So of course, this all many things led up to a divorce, but they did end up getting divorced as well. And then the father, of course, because he wanted to get back with the daughter, tried to get in contact, but did not happen. So you kind of feel just bad for the whole roundabout there.
Yeah. So, yeah, her husband ended up divorcing her after that. He was like, you can't just give up my kid when I'm at work.
Yeah.
And the other one is just living with relatives. So, and yeah, it's pretty insane that she did give them up. And, at this point, her dad is deceased. Her mom actually died in a motorcycle accident the year after she went into the orphanage. So she truly like had no one.
Mhm.
She tried to live with her brother, but she kept running away. She could never find any spots. So she's like, hey, I guess I need to find someone that's going to take care of me. Because at this point, she doesn't have any skill to support herself. She definitely did not want kids. She did not want to be a mother at any point. Um, so we're going to fast forward to 1948. So she's 19 at this point. She's divorced. Her kids are gone. So the only way that she knows how to support herself in any way is to scheme and scam and to steal and just to try to make her own way to feed herself and to get her to her own way. So her first arrest actually was when she was 19 in 1948, and it was for forging checks. And she was using those checks to buy clothes and accessories and like basically anything that she needed to live so she could dress and try to be in the society that she was trying to mesh in with. Because she had no life experiences. So everything that she brought up was a lie. Her childhood was a lie. Her parents were a lie because she said, "Oh, my parents live in Mexico. I've got 17 siblings." Like her life was a constant lie because she had no experiences to pull from, like family experiences or having friends or anything like that. It was just a complete shit show from the time that she was brought into this planet. So,
Exactly. You kind of almost want to think like, is that like a defense mechanism to like hide like your true self and then make up these lies and then maybe she's believing them to feel better about it. Like who knows? I don't know. I always do give people the benefit of the doubt, but I should probably not with this one. But poor
yeah,
thing.
I actually read an article about people that do are pathological liars, and there are lies that they will tell over and over again to many many people, and they end up believing what they're saying. That was only one or two articles I read. I'm not a doctor. I can't say that's like fact or whatever. It kind of
Yeah.
makes sense to me though, if
Yeah.
you're gonna do that, that you kind of believe what you're starting to say.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so she was charged and she was guilty. And so she actually served 4 months in prison and then she had 3 years probation. They said she needed to be monitored when she was left for the 3 years. She was not monitored and she left the area 6 months after getting out of prison. So now she's out of prison. She doesn't know what she's going to do. So she's going to start looking for another older gentleman to latch onto in order to make sure that she's taken care of because she can't do it on her own. Um, so in 1952, Puente would end up getting married again. She would marry a merchant marine, which actually worked out in her favor because he was never there. So she was able to do whatever she wants. And so he was actually, he would make the money as a merchant marine and then she would gamble his money. She would take all of his money, but he didn't know that when he was out to sea. And in the interim of while he is gone, she is working as a sex worker. And this was a trade that her mom did after their father died before she lost custody. So Puente was already around it, like at the house when it was taking place. So it wasn't anything that she didn't know about.
Yeah. Might as
So
well.
might as well. And so the one thing that Dorothea did as a sex worker was get a little bit more of, you know what, I want to make more money. I'm going to open a brothel. So,
Like how fun.
right.
No.
So between 1954 and 1957, she opened a brothel. She owned and operated it in Sacramento, and she actually had it as a bookkeeping business. So when you'd walk into the brothel, it had a legit little waiting room and all of that. Dorothea would come out, ask you some questions, figure out what kind of girl you wanted, and then brought you back and was, did your deed, and everyone got paid, and everyone was on their merry way.
Yup.
So she was being successful. You know, her husband's out, you know, being a merchant marine, so she's getting his money. Then she's getting the money from the girls that are working at the brothel, and then
Mhm.
she owns the brothel, so she's getting more funds from that. So of course, cops are gonna get a little bit suspicious of what's going on in this building. So they decided to do a sting operation, and they go in
This
and
is
they,
funny to me how they
yeah,
do this
this
whole
cracked
thing.
me up. So they actually put like some weird powder on their hands, and they were touching the girls as they were going through, getting told all the rules and regulations of being in the brothel. And, you know, so one cop, you know, grabbed an ass, the other one grabbed a boob. There was, you know, so when they put them under the light, they were able to see it. So, you know, pretty
Mhm.
good for, you know, the early, like late 50s, you know, to come up with that kind of thing. So the cops
But
did
they
that.
did they go through with it? This is what I obviously they're not saying it. Did the cops actually go through with the whole like, sure, Lyle?
Experience.
Go, yes, exactly.
I could not find that anywhere. I did find this story in three different sources, and it was just, you know, the touching and
Yeah.
the petting, because it could be found on clothing and stuff like that under this light.
Mhm.
So they did do that, you know. So here we go. In 1960, Dorothea is arrested for owning this brothel. And unbelievably, she was only sentenced to 90 days in jail. And she was a great talker. She could get her way out of things.
Mhm.
And then she got charged with being in a house of ill repute.
Right.
So not, you know, hey, you're running a whorehouse here. It was, you know, you get 90 days, you know, go on your merry way. So
Crazy. Just how much sweet talk did she have to like give or just feign? Oh, I didn't know that's what these girls were doing. Like, I don't know what she was saying, but she, whatever she said, totally
yeah,
everybody
she's like,
bought
oh,
it.
I didn't know I was in a brothel. And they're like, okay.
Right.
I'm like, okay.
I didn't know that's what they were doing here. They don't have clothes on. Oh, I just thought that
She's like,
was
I had no idea. I
bookkeeping.
was just doing bookkeeping. You know, it's always the, oh, I have no idea what you're talking about, and it seems routine. So she gets her 90 days in jail. Her husband comes back in 1961. Of course, he finds out everything that happened. He knew about her sex work prior, so he was like, hey, you were supposed to like not be doing that anymore, and you spent all my money. Like, what's going on here? So he actually had her committed in the state mental institution, for erratic behavior and drinking.
Mhm.
So she stayed there, and she was evaluated. And they said, you know, she is a pathological liar. There's no way around it. Um, and so they just let her out. They're like, she's not a danger to herself or anyone else. So we're gonna go ahead and let her go. And her husband's like, I'm done. And he left. So he left and they separated. Their divorce wasn't final until 1966 or so.
Mhm. Yeah. And I feel like also she had to have been telling all of these lies to begin with. And he was just like, maybe you're telling lies. Like, why? I don't know. It's just the whole thing. I feel like he kind of knew what he was getting into, but then it just escalated craziness. And knowing Dorothea herself could just like charm anybody into loving her because he wasn't the last man to love her. Like, it's just crazy.
It is. It's amazing how much she is able to snow people.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was like she just knew people. And I think that's one of the things you'll see throughout the whole thing is she could read people very well.
Hmm.
But unfortunately, she used that more on the predator side of things as okay, what's my next one that I'm going to do so that I can keep my money training coming.
Right.
So she just was an ultimate schemer, and she just kept going. Um,
Hmm.
so 1966 was actually a huge turning point for her. She would actually assume the identity of a Sharon Johansson. She wanted to portray herself as a very kind and Christian woman. She actually did a very good job at reinventing her total self. She had built up to a point where people looked and saw her as a caregiver. She was actually a caregiver to young women that were either in poverty or escaping abuse. So she was actually trying to help young women out, but you have to understand it wasn't that she was doing it to be like, I really want to help you. It was, I need to do this so all these people think I'm a good person so I can take all their money.
Yeah, she totally twisted it. She, like you said, knew how to find people, knew people. Oh, this is my niche or whatever, and I know how to, get around these folks. I don't know, whatever she thought in their head, whatever. I was gonna say like deplorables. Maybe that's what she thought, but I mean, who knows what this lady is thinking? Like, obviously, that's not what they are. Just I'm pretending to be in her mind, so that's all. But who knows? Just crazy how she understands people that well. That's how she grew up, understanding all of their behaviors and their I don't just drives me crazy. But anyway, I'm sorry, go ahead.
In her case, it actually came from a point of survival at the
Mm-hmm.
beginning because she really had no one taking care of her. I mean, her dad came home from the war, PTSD, all that stuff, wanted to kill himself, and the mom wasn't there. So she only had to count on her siblings. So she really didn't have like anything to grab onto. So
No,
she came more out of circumstance and survival of I need to know what I need to do so I can take care of myself. Um,
exactly.
so that I think that's where hers kind of stemmed from,
Mm-hmm.
survival, unfortunately.
I know. Oh,
Yeah. So in 68, she would marry again. But of course, that one would also end in divorce. She liked getting married, didn't like to stay married. Um, and
she loves
actually,
love. No.
and it's said that these men that would actually marry her, they would like find her stories like funny or intriguing and be like, yeah, whatever. Like you can tell like it's a lie, but they're like, oh, that's funny. Like she said she was a rockette. She, said she lived in castles, said that, she
Mm-hmm.
came from a rich family, that she was from Mexico and had 17 siblings. Like it was always something, she always had some other information to make herself bigger than life. And people are like, oh, she's nice and she takes care of people, but we just don't know why she lies all the time.
Yeah, weird. When she said she was a rockette, did she say that, or I don't know, I might be thinking of something else, but did she say she was found by being in some department store? I forget.
Yes. So she was in a department store shopping and said that she was discovered there and asked to be in the Rockettes, like right there.
Yeah.
So, when people would like pick and, kind of pick out her stories, she'd be like, oh, well, what happened was that one night when we were on the Rockette line, we're kicking, everyone's doing great. And then the girl next to me, her heel busts off and we all go crazy and fall over. And, one girl broke her ankle and we could no longer be Rockettes. Like it was
Yes.
always something to kind of either bring an end to the lie or to tie it
Mhm.
up. Like she was always trying to end something and then she would forget what she lied about. So she was lying on top of a lie because she couldn't remember what she was talking about.
Exactly. And her lies are so elaborate. And if you don't know her, I mean, you believe because she has so many details. You're like, okay, yeah, this is totally true. Like,
And I
who would know
think
all
that
that?
right, and I think that was the thing that they said about her lies is that they were very intricate and very like long and drawn out and had a lot of information involved in it. But she kept those lies going, and unfortunately, it worked in her
It
favor
did.
a lot of
Yes.
times. So in 73 is where we're at. Um, Puente would actually open her first boarding house, and this was on F Street in Sacramento. It was a Victorian home with about 16 bedrooms in it, and she was looking forward to this. And this place was known as the boarding house that would take away or take all of the ones that they were pushed away by other boarding houses, either from addiction or drinking or, homelessness or mental deficiencies. Every other place that would be like, no, you're too much to stay here, she would actually take them in. So the social workers liked her because they're like, oh, she's taking like the worst cases. We're so happy she's here. She actually had holiday meals at this boarding house and invited all the social workers over as well as like, hey, I'm here to help you and all of this because the more people that are there, the more opportunity she has to make money. Um, so she would also hold AA meetings here, and she would help homeless and mentally ill individuals with filling out their paperwork for Social Security benefits. So, and government checks are the best for her because they do come monthly. If it's Social Security or pension or anything like that, those things are going to come all the time, and they're guaranteed basically for these individuals. Um, so that's what she would ultimately do. She would fill all these out, and she would convince most of them that she was there to help them, and she would take their money. So she would convince a lot of them to sign over their entire check. Like, oh yeah, you're going to give me a stipend, you're going to keep the rest for like my room and board and food, and all that kind of thing. Um and then the ones that did not sign over their full checks, they were actually moved to the basement and were not taken care of, as well as the ones that decided to hand over all of their money. So when the social workers would come over, she would just shut lock that basement door. Hey, there's nobody down there. We're all good here. Hey, hey, come for some food. Awesome to see you. How are the kids and grandkids? Like, she always kept that good vibe going with these social workers and everyone else, so they never had an inkling that she was doing anything like that. She'd actually tell people she was a doctor, had fake diplomas and things printed out. She had like a medical room put into this place. Um, and she was just good at convincing people. And a doctor actually came to there to check out the tenants at the boarding house. And she actually convinced this doctor that she was a medical assistant to the point that he offered her a job. So, no credentials, like, hey, look at my fake diploma. I'm awesome here. And she was actually giving tenants injections, stating they were vitamin shots. So I guess you're able to buy everything just like you can now on Amazon, everywhere else. And she just, made it to where she was the end all be all to help.
Exactly. Okay. So I see that people are saying that there's an echo. Sorry, I'm messing with it right here, and I'm muting myself right now.
Echo? Is there anyone?
And then how about this echo? Any echo on my end? I don't
hear an echo.
I don't either. We'll wait for the chat to say.
Yes.
Look at my fake medical room.
And fake diploma. I mean, I guess they look real. I mean, I guess people back then didn't question everything.
You can do anything with a typewriter those days.
You really could. So no one else had to come into the house. Smart. Yeah, that's very true.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. All right. Okay. Looks like I'm okay on this side.
Am I echoing, Tim? If you can let me know. Okay.
Just so it's intermittent. Everything's good. All right. David the tech says everything is good. So if everything is bad, I'll bury him in the backyard just like Puente. But you're right. So Jen, yeah. So this fake diploma, what the heck? Okay. And a doctor, like what doctor? And I don't know if y'all have watched Dr. Death, Dr. Dunch. Was it him? I mean, like, who did she convince that she was a legit doctor giving them these injections, taking care of like people who no one, I don't know, maybe she saw them as no one wants to take care of them. They have no family that wants to take care of them. So she'll bring them in and she's seen as this good Samaritan, but really deep down, she has all of these, I don't know, just like bad intentions for everything. Like you said, their social security checks, all of that. That's how she gets her money. So I just can't believe that she just convinced a real doctor that she was a legit doctor. It's just crazy. And then this comes to our first murder victim. It's just nuts. Okay, so 1976. Remember, she was born in 59, so you can do the math there. But a man named Chief, all right, he was her handyman, helped her out around the house. Remember, she had a boarding house at this time, so of course it's too much for like an elderly lady to take care of. And I think that she wasn't even that old at this point. But Chief would go into her basement and just dig frequently. There's a concrete slab down there. And I mean, take out the garbage, putting other concrete slabs. Like, what's going on in this basement? He's just doing he doesn't ask questions, does whatever Dorothea says. Dorothea could be feeding him all the time, caring for him, making him feel loved, whatever. So he's like, sure, I'll do this. No questions asked. All of a sudden, he is just like gone, disappeared. Nobody like knows where he is. So the tenants, they were asking like, hey, Dorothea, where's Chief? Because like I want to play checkers with somebody and he's super good at checkers. Like, I don't know. But they were wondering where he went, and she would just nothing. She would just like turn around and maybe just ignore them, maybe switch the subject, but would not ever talk about Chief and where he went. So that kind of happens, kind of lingers on, and then people are just forgetting about it. Okay, no one's talking about Chief, whatever. So the same year, she gets married again. Of course, it only lasts for a couple times. She loves love. I wonder if she just loves getting married. Like maybe just going to the courthouse and getting a new alias to use. Like, who knows? It's just something she collects, like coins. But she gets married, doesn't last too long, like a half a year, right? Or no, just a couple of months, actually. I'm sorry. And then the next year, she tells everybody that would listen that she has cancer and she's dying of cancer. Now, I can't even freaking stand. Like, are you kidding? What a sick lie to tell people you're dying of cancer and just wanting everyone's, I don't know, like sympathy or whatever. I don't know what she was gaining from it. But then she was also telling people when she passes, everything that she has, like all her money, her possessions, everything is going to go to her community, right? So everybody who she's been taking care of, maybe like the social workers to give it to, homeless or people of mental illness, like whoever. She's giving this all because she's just a sweet person and she just loves everybody. I can't get over that. But anyway, so she is lying about having cancer. And in the same year, she has a tenant, or she had a tenant that used to live with her. His name was Robert Davis. This was like a couple of years ago, but he's in prison. All right. So this guy's in prison. She's like, hey, everyone, I got cancer. I'm dying. And he goes, hey, Dorothea, you're dying. I don't care. Where is my social security checks? I'm sure he cares. I'm just making it up, right?
No, I don't think he cared.
Yeah. Who knows? So he realized all of his social security checks, they haven't been coming to him. They've been going straight to Dorothea. This is where she's getting her money. She's also been telling people, she's independently wealthy. I believe, and correct me too, Jen, she also was like in the scene, like with governors or politicians and all like the higher ups.
Yeah, so she
like,
was actually in some pictures with some of the governors in California for all of her good work with the outreach community.
Yeah, exactly. So everyone loves her. She's like this golden star who's terminally ill. And then this guy calls her up from prison and he's like, oh, where's my money? And figures out, like, they do an investigation and they find out that all of her checks have been signed by Dorothea. Now, Dorothea did tell everybody, hey, Robert told me I can have this money. I can have these checks. It was him that said it, but it was over 34
34.
government checks.
Mm-hmm.
That is a lot of checks that she's signing over to herself. Just crazy. So they figure it out and they're like, no, girl, you're totally wrong. They arrest her and she's convicted of illegally cashing all of these checks, which is legit, right? Like you can't just take people's money, whether they're in, doesn't even matter who the person is. You can't take the money. And so she's convicted and she is given 5 years probation, just probation, and then a $4,000 fine. All right, they're just kind of almost like a slap on the wrist in a way. I mean, 5 years probation is a lot, but
I mean,
she's
for
not in jail.
forging 34 government checks, you would think she'd get a little bit more than that.
Exactly, exactly. And who knows? Did they feel bad because she's like a little old grandma and she didn't know? Like maybe she didn't know. Like who knows who she's playing at this time? But she was also made to give up her boarding house, which you know is her main source of income, her main source of being part of the community and being in society. And she was also told to complete therapy. So yay! Good, Dorothea. We want you to complete therapy, right? Let's figure out
Yes,
what's going
therapy's
on.
great. Let's help you.
Yeah. But guess what? One appointment. One appointment.
Like, thanks,
And
guys. That was great.
yeah, I'm all fixed. I feel so much better. Thank you. No, I mean, I don't think that they like checked or followed up on those things or something like that, but just the one, it's just nuts. So after all of this, you know, her being convicted, losing her boarding house, her reputation tanked, right? So no one wants to deal with her anymore. You know, all those politicians that like loved her, the, you know, the society, the social status, all of that is gone. So let's see, where am I at? A couple of years later, so she was arrested in 78. So 1 year later, 79, she has a new job. And I don't know how easy it was to get jobs back then. I know if I even have like an MIP from freaking 13 years old, I can't get a job anywhere. Like whatever. But she got a new job after all of this as a nurse's aide for elderly patients.
Yeah.
Okay, and the elderly is so sweet. They live their lives. Please don't mess with them. Like whatever, but they're letting her do all this. This is just crazy. They did not ask for any credentials whatsoever. So she was able to just, you know, lie and charm her beautiful way into this job and into this community. It's just crazy to me, into this position.
Yeah, she was a character. So after this, she kind of just like worked, odd jobs. She went to cook, anything. Um, and with the nurse's aide job, she went back to Sacramento and she was at a bar because that's where she liked to pick up her men. Her older men was the bars. She actually met a individual named Ricardo Evererica, and he actually had a second story apartment in his house that was for rent. She heard he had it. She's like, "Hey, I'd really like to rent that spot from you." He came back and said, "It's not even finished. Like, flooring's not there. Nothing's in there. Are you sure you want to rent it?" And I think her comeback with this, like, it made me chuckle because she was like, I'm a doctor. I can complete all of these repairs to this apartment myself. I'll complete this construction.
Yeah.
Not a problem.
I'm a
And
doctor. I know medical stuff and carpentry.
and I'm gonna be able to lay these floors and make this apartment fabulous. Can't wait. I hope you agree with it, and we can go on from there. So Ricardo's like, "Hey, come on, you want to rent this apartment? It's not a problem." And the messed up thing about this was her Ricardo's family loved her. She babysat their kids and they loved her. She tutored Ricardo and his wife in English, cooked them meals, and I mean, she was in there. She, made them think that she was like this great person that really wanted to help people. So they just loved her. So now, after this. She's comfortable. She's living with, living in the apartment. She's working as a nurse's aide, so she's getting into those elderly patients again, which seems to be her main grab for funds. So she is now working with Esther Busby. Um, so the doctors couldn't figure out what was going on with Esther. She'd be fine. She'd be, regaining strength and doing all this. And then she would end up getting really, really sick again. And then she'd get better. So they just couldn't figure out what was causing these issues for her. So the doctors would do blood tests and, trying to figure it out. So the next time she took her to the hospital, the doctor's starting to get a little suspicious. They're like, she keeps coming back. He keeps saying she's sick. And then we treat her and then she goes home and she's fine. And so she took her to a different hospital. She's like, oh, I'll just circumvent this whole thing and go to a new doctor. So she did. But unfortunately for her, the new doctor ordered blood tests for Esther to kind of figure out, hey, what's going on? Let's try to figure out it. And it would come back that Dorothea Puente was poisoning her. Um, you know, just having her, get sick and then feel better and, all of this. And Puente was using this because she was calling Miss Esther's family saying, oh, she's dying. She has cancer. I'm taking her to the hospital. And this family was just like writing her checks. And so she was pocketing all this money. So, of course, he alerted the family, they alerted Esther. So, Esther's like, well, you can go beat feet, you're fired. I don't need to be poisoned anymore, and you need to go. But they never brought charges against her or anything like that. After they fired her, she actually went to Esther a few weeks later and like brought her food, was like, oh, you can't believe what they're saying, blah, blah, blah. She ate the food. Chick immediately got sick. And so the doctors are like, what the
Really?
hell? And so unfortunately, Esther ended up passing away the next year. And they believe it's from all of the trauma that her body went through. But they weren't able to prove it or pin it on Puente. So she got away with that one, unfortunately.
Oh my gosh. I mean, just
Yeah.
imagine you're this lady and you're like, stay away from me. I know you're doing bad things. And she comes with like a bowl of soup and she's like, but I love you. It's not me. Like, it's something else. And then you kind of end up believing her and eat her. Like, how twisted does this manipulative person have to be to where you are so like angry and I don't know, have this hatred for them for your life, and then you just turn. You're like, yeah, okay, it's something else.
It's pretty crazy. Um, so she actually started the same routine with another patient around the end of 79, early 80. But she was immediately fired after social workers stepped in. They were starting to notice the same kind of behaviors from before. So she was immediately fired. So we're now in 81. We're chugging along here. We're getting there. So she was actually working as a cook. So one thing that I did notice in a lot of the sources and things is that she was actually known for being a good cook. Like she had cooked in plenty of different places. So she was able to use that to get jobs and things like that. Unfortunately, she did use her food for nefarious reasons. So I wouldn't eat it even if it was good. So she was actually working for a Dorothea Gosling, who was 84 years old. So Puente would come over, make her dinner, help her, with everything she needed. Well, she was starting to black out and not remember anything, and she would wake up. Well, one evening after Dorothea left and this episode took place, uh, Miss Gosling noticed that over $4,000 of jewelry, checks, and money had been taken, as well as other prescription drugs as sedatives and sleeping pills, because that was her route to drug these elderly patients till they passed out, and then she'd steal their stuff and leave. So She was not. She was not a good person. And so this was going to be like her main source of income through her life. So in May of 82, we have a Malcolm McKenzie. He was 74. He met Puente at a bar, which was her normal thing, like, hey, how you doing? Nice to see you. Oh, how lovely. Belly up
Let's
to the bar, let me buy you a
do some
drink.
line dancing.
What do you want to do? You want to hang out? Um, so he was like, hey, let's go ahead and go. So they were going back to his place. He stated that he felt kind of woozy, but he was like, I only had like 2 drinks. I shouldn't feel that way, going into my apartment. And as soon as they got in, he completely passed out and fell on his sofa. So, but he was awake and paralyzed. So, this is one of the first times that we see that she had drugged him to the point where his body was in paralysis. He was awake, his eyes open. He's able to see everything she's doing, but he cannot move, he cannot speak, he cannot do anything. And he
Yeah,
is
that's
literally
crazy.
watching this lady totally take everything from his apartment, his penny collection. She took money, cards, and then wanted his ring. So she couldn't get it off. So she literally went to the kitchen, got lard, and slipped it off his finger and left. And just left him there. So he was like watching all this stuff. So luckily, he did not die from this drugging. So as soon as he came around and he was able to move, he immediately called the police and was like, this lady drugged me. I was paralyzed. She stole all my stuff. And she was able to convince the police officers that he was mad because she turned him down. And
Yeah,
they're like,
and
oh, okay.
gross.
And then
No one wants to do you, lady. I don't think that's right, but they totally believe that.
totally believed that. Yeah. And then they believed that she's like, oh, sometimes I do things and I don't remember doing them. And they're like, oh,
That's
that's totally legitimate and nothing. So no charges were ever brought against her for for Malcolm at all.
no, again, it's probably her little sweet, grandma almost ish. Yeah, and I just saw, so Adriana put in there, if you don't know who Dorothea Puente is, go ahead and look her up on Google and look at her picture. Like, she does look like a golden girl. Like, she looks like a sweet grandma who just wants to take care of you. But some
So
of those
yeah.
pictures, I don't know, I'm going to jump the gun real quick. But some of those pictures, she says she's 70 and she's actually only 50 years old. So be careful when you look at
Yeah.
those.
So
She looks
this
way
is
older.
actually one of them. So here she is.
Yes.
Yes, looking like a grandmother, like a legitimate grandmother. And
It,
she's not that old.
no, she's not that old. Is she 50 in that picture? I can't remember.
She was in her late 50s.
And yeah, and she looks like she's pulling off like 60s or 70s. But that's what she also tells people. And she's way older too. It's just crazy.
Yeah, it's like when she started taking on the happy go lucky granny taking care of everybody, she actually started dressing that role. So she went out and bought bigger glasses. She bought more vintage type clothes. She totally went with that role because it made people more comfortable and vulnerable to her. Because they're like, oh, sweet old granny's not going to drug me and take my money. So we're just going to go hang out with Dorothea. Let's see.
Exactly. I can trust her. Like, oh my gosh, just so
Mhm.
crazy. But yeah, I can't believe that, no charges were pressed. Just imagine Malcolm, poor old Malcolm, wanting just to have maybe a companion to watch, the late news together with or whatever. Like, he's totally dozed and she's just stealing everything. And then the audacity to grab his ring from him while he can see. He just can't move. I don't know.
Yeah, it's really sad.
So crazy. So after that, so she becomes in 82 again, she becomes the caretaker of a elderly lady. She's 82 years old, Irene Gregory. So she tells Irene, "Hi, my name is Betty Peterson." Like, that is totally not your name, but whatever. No one cares. They're just like, "Oh, you look cute. You're my grandma. Take care of me." And she's like, "Irene, your blood pressure, my goodness, it's crazy high. I think it is you're holding water." So she gives her these water pills, okay? And she is like giving all these to Irene daily. She blacks out. Irene blacks out, probably from these water pills, and she wakes up and all of her diamond rings, all of her medication, so they're all gone. So her medications, like sleeping pills, other sedatives. So Dorothea's, maybe she's like gold mining for later, right?
Oh
Just
yeah,
like,
for sure.
oh yeah, oh, I hear some I don't know, Adderall. I don't even know if that's a thing, but I'm sure it wasn't, but something cooler than that. Um and because Dorothea, she used a fake name, this Betty Peterson, nobody knew it was actually her. They could not find this person who was drugging Irene and stealing things from her. So she got away with that as well.
Yes.
Yeah, and then there's other people too that have said, I'm blacking out, she's stealing things from me. We have got Claire Melville and Loretta Chalmers, and they're all like, yeah, she drugged me. She stole things from me. Like, somebody's got to do something. Okay. So now all of this like heat is on Dorothea. Like, everyone's like saying, hey, this girl, this little old lady is not who you think she is. And Dorothea's like, okay, I got to calm down. Like, I thought I was doing good. No, I'm getting caught. People are telling on me. I'm chilling. So she goes and she works for a bar. She's cooking food because, again, like Jen said earlier, she's a really, really good cook. Like, she can make some food. So she's just chilling in there, and she works with a man named Harold Monroe at this bar. And he introduces her to his wife, Ruth Monroe. And he's like, hey, Ruth, you need to meet Dorothea. She's super cool. You guys are going to be best friends. And they totally hit it off. Ruth and Dorothea become like hitched. They're just best friends at this point.
Yes, they are. So, um, Harold actually had been diagnosed with terminal cancer. So he was kind of looking for, someone for his wife to confide in and, have a friend, someone to, soundboard off of during these times. And, she hadn't drugged Harold at this point or anyone at the bar. So, of course, they're not going to think, no reason. So, unfortunately, Ruth Monroe, at the age of 61, is going to become her second murder victim. So Puente and Ruth actually were getting along really well. Ruth was like, you know what? You're a great cook. I know the business side of restaurants and catering. Why don't we open a business together? So they were making all these plans. They're like, oh, this is going to be great. We're going to open our own catering business, and, she's going to cook. It's going to be great. We're going to, have all of this time and work this out. So, unfortunately, this led to opening the lovely joint bank account. We love those.
Don't open joint bank accounts, anybody. Just don't do it. I don't even have one with David. I don't know what he's going to do with my money. This is my money.
Yeah, so she definitely she opened one of those with Ruth, and so they started to, funnel some of the money from the checks from the bar and all that stuff into this bank account in order to open up this catering business. Unfortunately, during this time, Harold actually got worse with his cancer. He ended up having to go to like VA hospitals and things like that, and for extended stays. So Ruth was having a really, really hard time with it. She was like, he's sick, we're fighting, and it really sucks because we shouldn't fight because he's dying, and, I don't know what to do. And so he was going to have to stay at the VA hospital. So Puente was like, hey, Ruth, why don't you just come and move in with me? I've got this, second floor apartment. Why don't you just come stay with me and hang out? It'd be great. Just
We'll be
girls.
best friends. I'll
Yeah,
feed you.
doing
You
the
feed
thing.
me.
Yeah, doing the thing, opening a business, having fun. So Ruth was like, that sounds great. So Ruth moves in March. So in the beginning of March, Ruth moves in with Dorothea Puente. Uh, right before she moved in, she went to the doctor, had a physical. She was like a number one healthy, like nothing was going wrong. So her kids are like, oh, okay, cool. So you're gonna go stay there. They didn't have an issue with it, so everyone seemed to be on the same page. But over the next 3 weeks, Ruth gets significantly sick, like to the point where she doesn't look recognizable. She went to her normal like hair salon place, and her friends are like, "What the fuck? Like you do not look like yourself. What is going on?" And she wouldn't say anything. And then one day she said to one of her friends, "I can't talk to you, um, but I think I'm gonna die." Like flat out, like that was it. And so they were really concerned. So after she was losing all this weight, so her kids are coming to visit, and they're like, what is going on with our mother? Like, you guys were about to open a business, and now we're confused at why she needs like round the clock care. Um, so in April of 1982, so it's only been a month that she's been living with Puente. She calls Ruth's children. She says, "Hey, I had to call 911. Something's wrong with your mom. So you might want to come." So a little bit later, she calls her kids. "Sorry to tell you, your mom has died." So they're just like, "What? What's going on?" She was completely healthy
Just a little bit ago.
30 days ago.
Yeah.
So, so Ruth is telling the, you know, the EMTs and everybody, oh, she was really depressed. Her husband's dying, all of this stuff. I've been taking care of her, trying to like lay down the lines of, she probably committed suicide because of her husband or whatever. So they would run a blood test, and they would actually mark it as a overdose um, on her due to high levels of codeine and acetaminophen. So, yeah, which is two medicines that A, were not prescribed to her, and B, she did not have access to. She was bedridden, and so these actually had to be fed to her. So it comes out that Dorothea was actually grinding these pills up and putting them in cream de menthe and having her drink them.
Yeah, I forgot about the creme de menthe, however you say it.
Yes.
Yeah, she would have her, Dorothea would have Ruth drink those all the time. All the time.
All the
And
time.
her kids would say, "Hey, my mom Ruth does not drink. Why is she always drinking this creme de menthe or cream de menthe, however you say it?" And yeah, when in isn't it when the autopsy or the coroner was doing an autopsy on Ruth, opened up her stomach, it was just the creme de menthe and then the codeine. Like that was it. She wasn't eating at all. She was just drinking this
Yeah, they said
liquid.
she hadn't eaten in days. Like the only thing that was in her stomach was that disgusting like cream de menthe shit that she had been drinking for like days.
That's
And
and that
so that was
have
only
you
a
ever
month.
had that before? It's disgusting. It's
No,
gross.
I don't plan on having it, to be honest with you.
You can't just drink it straight. Like I think it's a mixture, almost kind of a liqueur or whatever. So just even her just drinking it, like that's even evil, Dorothea. Like you're not even mixing it with anything. Like come
Like
on.
good. I mean, if you're gonna give her something to drink, let it be like I guess tasty or something. Like some
Exactly.
mouthwash beverage does not sound delicious to me.
Please don't give me scope no more, please.
Right. So, that was in April. So she didn't miss a beat. We are now in May of 82, and Dorothy Osborne is her next victim. She actually called Dorothy and was like, "I can't believe someone died in my house. I want to come over and talk to you about it. I'm really distraught. I'm really upset. I don't know how to feel about this lady dying in my house." So Dorothy's like, "Oh, yeah, come on over. No problem. I can understand why that would be a little bit overwhelming. So, definitely come on down." So she did. And hands her a drink and was like, "Oh, I'm so glad that you're here to talk to me and all this." And, gave her a drink. Dorothy blacks out. And Puente took checks, cash, and credit cards But she did not kill Dorothy Osborne. Yay! She lives. And she's smart as hell. So it's like, that's some good thinking.
For
Make sure
sure.
you get it. So luckily, this leads to her fourth arrest in 1982. She is charged and convicted of in August of that year of 3 theft charges, and she was sentenced to 5 years in prison. So the one thing that I could not understand was her only getting theft charges, because she legitimately tried to kill this woman to steal her things. So to me, that's at least assault, or attempted murder.
Attempted murder, right? Come on. Like, do you think, was she just talking to, I don't know, her lawyers, the police? Like, who was bringing these charges down? It is mind like boggling. Like, how did this not escalate to what it should have been?
Right. Absolutely agree. So she goes to prison. Luckily, she got the 5 year sentence, which I still feel is a slap on the wrist. But so I mean, one funny thing I guess is though that she gets to prison, she gets her 5 year sentence. She started some shit and with some of the other inmates and got beat to almost dying. So they had to actually put her in a completely different part of the prison, because the other women in the prison did not like her, and so they had to keep her separated. So to keep herself busy, she decides, I'm gonna get myself a pen pal.
That's
You know, I'm
right.
in I'm in prison. I can't meet any men, because I'm at an all woman prison. So, so she was like, I'm gonna get myself a pen pal. Oh. So
Exactly.
right.
Right. Oh my gosh. All these other women are like beating up this old lady and not care. Like, you're actually evil. Like, they knew more than everybody else did. Kind of funny. But
There is prison justice. I will say that does happen. There are times that I think it's warranted. Um, but I'm not in prison. I don't plan on going, so I'm straight.
I don't
Um,
want to go either.
right. So as she is in prison and she has her pen pal, she is evaluated by a psychologist. So the psychologist actually gave a spot on evaluation of Puente. She is a pathological liar. She has schizophrenic ideals and intentions. She has no remorse at all for anything that she does. She feels justified in her actions for survival. And she just doesn't care. She does not like children. She does not like elderly people. She feels everyone is there for her to get on and over and to take their money and to go on to the next. She had no clue or any feeling that, you kill these people, you're drugging all of them. And she was just like, well, I was just trying to survive. So whatever. And that was her whole stance. So he was like, she's not going to change. She's going to continue this behavior. You need to keep her in prison.
That is one smart doctor right there.
Unfortunately, they did not listen. So Dorothea actually has a pen pal named Everson Gilmoth. They call him Gil. So he is 77-year-old widower. He loves love. He is looking for love. He just wants to be able to share these last few years on the planet with somebody. And so he's like, oh, I'm gonna write these women in prison because they're probably looking for love, right? They're stuck in some place, so let's see where this can go. So they're pen pals, and so she is actually released from prison after 3 years. So
What, 5 to 3?
for good behavior. So
And she's stuck in a room all by herself. I mean, how good can you be? Like, but
no,
whatever.
no, I totally agree. Like, I don't the good behavior thing blows my mind. I'm like, you're in prison, like you need to behave, but I don't think you should get time off your sentence for doing so.
Exactly. That's the point of prison.
Right.
Listen.
Take your charge, do your time, and then deal with it afterwards. Um, so she decides that she's gonna take this jump with Everson. So she says, "Hey, I'm getting out." And this is what I'm getting out. So he shows up at the prison in his 1980s Ford red truck, there to pick her up and take her away from the bad prison and to show her the life that they've been talking about. He had been writing his sister that, hey, if everything works out, we're getting married. Was really smitten with her completely. He, you know, was totally in the belief that they were going to get married. They're going to share this, go on and go on. So he actually moved in with her in that second story apartment above Ricardo, who she's had for a while. Like she kept it while she was in prison, the whole 9 yards. And Ricardo and his family welcomed her back, all this kind of stuff. So,
And this is the family that she like took care of the kids, right? Where she's like, "Oh, I'll teach you English," and we're
yes.
yeah, or she's a mother to them, and yeah,
Oh
okay.
yeah, like that whole family loved her because she cooked,
Mm-hmm.
she took care of the kids, she helped them with their homework, help the adults study for English. Like this family like loved her. They didn't think that the charges that she got she shouldn't have. Like they were a big proponent for her. So they just let
Yeah.
her come back, and Gil moved in with them, and so everything seemed to be going good. So in August and September, things are great. They're moving in with Ricardo. The letters are going to Gil's sister saying everything's great. This is where we are, getting married, woo woo, all of
We're
this.
so
So
in love.
his sister was like, I don't know, seems a little sudden. And you met her in prison. So, I think you need to think a little bit more on this. Maybe not rush into marriage. Like, let's kind of like meet her, all this stuff. And so he stopped corresponding with his sister because she was like, you're not supporting me in my decision. Um, Listen to your
Exactly.
siblings. So,
Probably was like, "You're a toxic sister. Bye." I mean, who
yeah,
knows?
like you don't want me to be happy, and you don't know her, and like and all of those things. So he cut communication off with her. So his sister gets this weird ass letter like out of nowhere, and like saying, hi, I'm no longer marrying Dorothea, the wedding's off, and I'm leaving and all of this. So his sister's like, what the hell's going on, all of this. So
Yeah, like
she
I
thinks,
thought everything was good. I thought you were
right,
getting married. Now all of
right,
a sudden?
and then all of a sudden not get married, I'm good. So in October, so only like a month later, 6 weeks later, October, November timeframe in 85, she goes down to tell Ricardo, you know what? He left me. I don't know where he is. I don't know when he's coming back. The wedding's off and he's just gone. And so her landlord Ricardo's like, what the hell? I thought you guys were getting married and y'all were happy. And he's like, I didn't even see him move out. And he's like, and y'all live above me. So if something was going on, like I would have seen it or heard you moving furniture or moving anything out. And she was like, no, he's gone. He left me, and I have his truck. He told me I could have the truck, but he's leaving and he's going, and I don't know. I'm not happy with him anymore, so I'm just gonna move on.
Yeah, that's just, I don't know, that's sketchy to where even the bottom landlord is like, no, are you sure? I didn't hear you packing things. Because, in an apartment, in a house, you can hear the upstairs. So that is just like super strange. And doesn't she asks Ricardo to build a box or something?
So she reaches out to Ricardo because she wants a box built. So she wants this box built that is 6 feet by 4 feet by 2 feet. So pretty big box. And
Pretty
so
coffin size
yeah.
box.
So he was like, what do you need this box for? And she was like, oh, books and stuff. I have this small space and, I just need to put some stuff away and this box would be perfect. I can, shove it under the bed and I'll have more space. So Ishmael Flores is like, sure, I'll build you this box. It's not a problem. I'm a carpenter. Great. So he builds her this box. And she's like, great, thanks. So he leaves. She's in there filling it up with, all her stuff
With books.
with books and other things. And so she's like, hey, Ishmael, so for payment, for, you did my floors, you made this great box. Why don't you take this truck I've got? This red truck for payment. My boyfriend left me. He's in LA. And he said I could do whatever I want with it. And I don't really need a vehicle. So why don't you just take it instead of the $800 in cash you were going to charge me for the carpentry? So
Makes
he's like,
no
all right,
sense.
cool.
No
I'm
sense.
getting a truck for this. And she's like, well, hey, now that you have the truck, do you mind lugging this box for me to the storage unit? And he was like, sure. So loading up this box, and he was like, what's in it? It is so fucking heavy.
Well, it's books, Jen. It's
Yeah. Oh,
books.
it's just books and stuff, just really heavy shit. I just need to get it in there. And so he's like, all right, cool. Loads up the box in the back of the truck, driving over the storage unit. She's like, hey, you know what? We can stop right here. We're right by the river. Why don't you just throw it in the river?
Yeah,
I
I
don't
don't
really
need
need
it
this box.
anymore. I don't understand that. How does she get away with just saying, let's just stop here? I don't want this box, this beautiful box that you took the time to make. Let's just throw it away.
Yeah. And he was like, well, I thought it was like your stuff, like your books and like all your knickknacks. And well, not really. This is just like junk and stuff. That's why I was going to send it to storage, but we can just throw it over, we can just throw it over this bridge right here. And, it's no big deal. And this dude does it.
Crazy. He does it.
He does it. So he tosses this box into the river and he takes Dorothea home. He goes on his way and no harm, no foul. And no one even says anything. So,
Except until what was it, a year later or something?
yeah, so it was in January of 86 is when the box is found. And it is found by a fisherman. And, of course, he's out there and he was like, what the hell is this box? It's like busted
This ain't
open
no
on one
fish.
side. And he was like looking and he was like, oh, hell. And he's like, I know exactly what that is. It's got a certain smell of decomp, and so he calls the police and he's like, hey, you need to come down here. There's this body in a box. You need to come get it. So the cops come down there. Of course, they open it and it is the decomposing remains of an elderly gentleman. And he was actually wrapped in layers of plastic bags, sheets, stuffed with mothballs and deodorant. Yeah.
Deodorant, like a deodorant stick.
Yeah. So, like, just like stuck all in to try to hide the smell. Because remember, she's keeping this body in her second story apartment. So it doesn't stay fresh long. It sets in pretty quickly. So,
Oh yeah, and
they're like,
deodorant fixes that. It really does. It helps.
apparently, apparently deodorant fixes, a lot of things. So the cops come and they take it and all this other stuff. So they can't identify the remains right away, because she actually had him dumped in a different county where he wasn't known, so that it would take longer for them to try to identify him. And actually, it worked in her favor. It took them 3 years to identify Everson. So for 3 years,
3 years.
three
Oh my
years, because he was
gosh.
in the county next to them.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it
3 years
is.
just for like a side by side county, which now I think, police stations or departments work better with each other. This is what back in the 80s, so no
Yeah,
one liked to give each other their cases. But oh my
exactly.
gosh, 3 years, this poor guy's family. Whatever. It's crazy. Who puts a person in a box with deodorant sticks? But anyway,
Crazy
okay.
people.
I digress. I just can't believe this.
Yeah, it's a pretty crazy story. So now we're into 86. So 86 to 88 was her time to shine. She was a very busy lady. And so in 86 to 88, Puente opens a brand new shelter. Even though she's not supposed to be working with the elderly or having any access to government checks. And remember, a lot of elderly people have Social Security, government checks. Just keep that in mind. So
Exactly.
Bert, who was a tenant of hers, he was a known alcoholic who was homeless, who was down on his luck. And she kind of took him in saying, oh, he's my handyman and, I help him out. And like, he actually ended up calling her mama because of all the stuff that he did for her, but all the stuff she did for him as well. Um, so, but what he didn't like was that he figured out she was force feeding him medication. So he actually left the tenant house and went to a different shelter because his thought process was, I'm going to go to another shelter, I'm going to confide in somebody, and then maybe I can get some help or some direction. So he tells the person at the shelter, hey, Dorothea's medicating me forcefully. And it makes me really, really woozy and tired. And he's like, and I only get it after she gives me a drink.
Yeah, and
So,
Bert, I heard too, like he did not like living in shelter. So he was excited to go live with Dorothea. And then after, I mean, imagine how much she's force feeding him to where he's like, okay, I'll go back. I'll go back over there.
yeah,
That's
he's like,
fine.
I'd rather go sleep on a cot with 55 other people than to be force fed medication. Unfortunately, this shelter worker was friends with Dorothea. So they just called her, like, hey, Bert's over here saying you're force feeding him medication. What the hell's going on? And so she's like, I am so offended. Why would anyone ever say anything like that about me? I cannot believe he would say that. This shelter worker sent Bert back to Dorothea and said, you need to apologize for causing this and saying that she was force feeding you medication when we know that's not her.
And
So he
poor
was mean
Bert,
to go back.
yeah, and he already, I believe he was already dealing with mental illness, and then having told someone the truth that he believed would support him is telling him to go back to his, I don't know, abuser, this is an abuser, and saying I'm sorry. Like how horrible for him too. Poor guy.
Absolutely. It really sucked for Bert. Um so after Bert goes back, Bert goes missing. We don't know where Bert is.
Wait, Bert went to Mexico, right?
Yeah. So
Hmm.
apparently, so, cops are like, "Hey, where's Bert?" Social workers are looking for him. Oh, he's in Mexico with my family. They think he's just so nice and so much fun. They wanted to spend more time with him, so he's down in Mexico.
Yeah,
And the
wait,
cops are
and
like, huh?
Dorothea doesn't really have any family in Mexico, right? No.
Not a one.
This was a lie. Okay.
Oh, yeah. So she took on the having Mexican family because they were the only ones that took her in when she was a child. So that was like one main lie that she took like to the nth degree was that she had Hispanic parents. She was brought up in Mexico because those were the only people that actually gave her food and clothed and gave her help when she was a little kid. So yeah, but she knew no one in Mexico at all. Had never been there. Um, so they're like, I don't know about that. But they have nothing to go on to say yay or nay if they did or not. So Dorothea's starting to get a little bit nervous about the people questioning where Bert is. So she has one of her workers call the police and say, I'm Bert's brother in law, and he's coming to move with me in Ohio. And they're like, oh, great. What's your name? And he's like, oh, it's Andrew. And they're like, okay, great. So,
That's his
so they're
real
like, okay,
name
cool.
too.
It was his real name. So he was supposed to lie when he called the cops to give him a fake name, so that it would take them longer to investigate it. And he gave his real name, and he was a known worker for Dorothea. So we know how that goes.
Yeah, so she was like, "You better do this for me," probably sitting or standing, whatever, right next to him while he's on the phone. And he gets nervous when they ask for his name because Dorothea didn't tell him to lie, or maybe he forgot. But still, don't tell other people. Dorothea, come on, come on.
Exactly. So police come back because they're like, what's up? Where's Bert? I told you, Bert is in Mexico. I don't know what else to tell you. There was another tenant there named John Sharp, and he was telling the cops, oh, yeah, Bert's in Mexico. Not a problem. Whatever. Dorothea's standing there. And the cops are like, well, we have nothing to go on, right? We have two people here saying he's in Mexico. You know, we don't know what's going on, but we can't prove that he's not there and that he's not here. So John Sharp, he gets an A number one super sticker,
Yes.
hands the cops a note on their way out. And when they get out and they read it, and it says, she has me lying for her. Like, flat out, don't believe it. So
Yay,
after they
John.
left, John got the balls to actually leave the tenant house and go to the cops and tell them everything about what was going on in this boarding house. But keep in mind, parole officers have been at this house 12 to 15 other times. She is not supposed to be having a boarding house. She is not supposed to be working with elderly people, and she's not supposed to be working with government checks. And she's doing all three. And they're coming and they're like, oh, hey, house is in good working order. Tenants are here. You know, this seems okay. People are saying it's a great place to be, but they're also being drugged and they fear for their life. So they're going to be like, hey, this is the best place ever to live. And so now they are where they are.
Poor everybody. And these probation up, come on. Like, just do a little bit, just walk around a little more. Like, I don't know. Just
Yeah, like do a little bit more digging. At least, pick up a chair, look under
pick up a
something,
chair.
something. Um, so she wasn't supposed to be doing any of that. So they're working. November 11th comes around, and the police are like, you know what? We're going to search your house. We got too many inconsistencies. So we're getting a little bit weary. So we want to search your house. And she's like, hey, go ahead. Nothing wrong with the house. Go on through it. Police search the house. There's absolutely nothing in the house for them to find. So they're like, can we look outside? Because they're noticing some, fresh dirt out in the backyard. Because everyone in the tenant house is actually working in the back, creating this garden, and they put this brand new apricot tree like right here and there, and it's brand new. And so they're like, well, we want to dig in your dirt. And she's like, okay, here's a shovel. Like,
Yeah, she doesn't care. She's like, here you go. Here you go. Have fun.
yeah, go ahead. Here's a
Don't you
shovel.
think like she would just be worried? I feel like even when she gives him the shovel, in her mind, she's like thinking of lies, thinking of lies. How am I have to be cooperative to look like nothing bad happened, and then we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So they do start to dig, and they pull out what they think is like a twisted tree root, and it actually turns out to be a femur bone. So, cop just picks it up thinking, he's like, oh, tree root. And he's like, oh, fuck, no, it's a femur. So, of
That's
course,
not no
they have to
tree.
stop then. And so they go to talk to Dorothea. And she's like, are you kidding me? There is a body in my backyard? Like, totally, like, what the hell are you talking about? I couldn't even know they were there. I haven't lived at this house the entire time since it was built. I didn't put them there. So they had nothing to hold her, even though they found a femur bone in her backyard, and they let her go. So they return the
Exactly.
next day. Yay! Luckily, because they're like, we're gonna dig up your entire backyard at this point because we need to see what the hell is going on here. So this part flips me out, and it happened because there's a picture and I have it, and and it's a lot of different sources. So she goes to the police. She's like, hey, I know you're about to dig up my backyard. Do you mind if I go grab a coffee with my nephew Ricardo over here at the hotel down the street? I'll be gone just a few minutes. The cops say, sure, you can go ahead and leave while we dig up your yard. So this is her with
And
her
that's
umbrella, and this is the cop leading her to her actual car on the outside to take her and Ricardo to the hotel for coffee.
yeah, he actually escorts her to the car.
Escorts her to the car.
Yeah, sure, lady. Let's use coffee. It's, no big deal. We just maybe found a bone but you know what? It's not you. I'll see you later.
You're good. You go get that cup of joe and you enjoy it. Right? So she immediately goes and catches a flight to LA. She's like, I'm fucking out of here. Y'all can handle this. I'm out. Once they start digging, 3 holes in from digging, they find their first complete body. So 3 holes, just 3. 1, 2, 3, dig some holes. And they find their first complete body, and that is for Miss Leona Carpenter, who is 78 years old. As they continue to dig up her backyard, they find another additional 6 bodies.
How this yard
So
is not big, right, Jen?
no, no. So it's in the back of the boarding house. So, um,
And it's like in a city.
yeah.
So
So
it's not
here's
like
the
a
house. So it's in the back of this house. So you have to think of the row houses in California. So they're all really, really long, and they don't have very big backyards, or the backyard backs up to the backyard of the other row house from behind you. So it's not a big place to do it. So you're putting like bodies on top of bodies in this little place.
and
Um,
it baffles me that she's back here with, her handyman that she hires. No one's like thinking, what are you doing? Oh, I'm just gardening. This entire time you're out here gardening what? Like I don't even see a lettuce. Like whatever.
yeah. So as they were digging, the last body that they actually pulled out was Everson Gilmuth, and he was under the brand new apricot tree
And this
that they
was
had just put
Gil,
in.
right?
So
The man who loves love, pen pal in prison, right?
yes, and that was his resting place. So Lilith, was she doing it at nighttime? Well, the neighbors didn't see anything. I don't know when they were doing it, but it had to be some significant digging to be able to put these bodies in here. It is said that she actually was hiring convicts that were coming out of prison to dig holes for her. But they didn't say they were putting the bodies in them, but they did state that they were actually digging them. But she wasn't that big of a person, so I'm thinking they probably helped remove that body in there, but that's just my assumption. I
I
don't know if that
agree.
actually took place or not.
She's a little frail old lady. She can't carry, 200-pound I mean, a dead body, like that's a lot of weight, no matter how
Yeah,
big you
it
are.
is. So the individuals that were found in her backyard were Leona Carpenter, who was 78, James Gallup, who was 62, Via Frey Martin, who was 64, Dorothy Miller, who was 64, Benjamin Fink, who was 55, Bert, who was 51, and then Betty Palmer, who was 78. And those were the bodies that they found in the backyard. So it was found that Puente had actually drugged all of these individuals as soon as they were asleep. She actually suffocated them, and then had the dugs holes dug, and then put them in there. They were all wrapped in plastic in black trash bags, the same way that Everson Gilmoth was. Um, so when they were going through the house, they found that the people were drugged with benzodiazepines and fluorazepine, high doses of it. The medicine was stolen from Irene Gregory. If you remember earlier in our story, the one of the ones that she just drugged and they didn't die. So when they went back, they found all of the empty capsules in her drawer. So she was emptying them and then throwing the things in there. Like that was it.
Like it's her souvenir or what? Like, why would you keep those? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I do see a question. Yeah, I was ready to
Yeah.
ask that.
So that okay. So Adriana, you're right. I misspoke. So the person that was under the tree was Bert, not Everson. So yeah,
Yes,
you're
Bert.
correct on that. So thanks for keeping me honest there, Adriana. I appreciate it.
And Bert was
Um,
the sweet guy who went to the social worker. Remember, it's like something she's force feeding me, and they're like, "Go apologize."
yeah. So Bert was the one that was told to go back and to apologize. So she's on the run at this point, because they let her leave for coffee.
Might as well.
Yeah. So she's in LA. What does she know best? Troll the bars and find some old dude and take his money. So she was doing this. She met a pensioner named Charles. And she's like, hey, why don't we go back to your place and hang out and da da da. And he was like, you know what? I'm not feeling it tonight, but why don't you give me your number? We can meet tomorrow. And she's like, all right, cool. So she goes back to her hotel. He goes back to his place, watches the news, and up pops Dorothea's face saying she's wanted for at least 6 murders that they know about. And, so he's probably like, oh shit, I would have been dead if I would have, gone back with her tonight. So he was slick and called her at the hotel and was like, hey, are you still staying there? I just want to make sure since we're going to hang out tomorrow, are you going to be staying in for the rest of the night? And she was like, oh, yeah, I'm here. It's great. I'm not leaving. We'll see you tomorrow. He immediately calls the cops and he's like, hey, this is where she's at. This is the hotel. She's not leaving until tomorrow. Go grab her ass. So they did. Yay.
Yay, thank you. Oh my gosh, finally.
Yes. So they arrest her without any issue or anything from the hotel. They bring her back. She is charged with 9 murders. So she is charged with the 6 that were in the backyard. Then she was also charged with Ruth Monroe, because she was drugging her the whole time. They were actually able to have her cause of death changed from an overdose to a murder because of all of the investigation into it. So they added it to her as a murder charge.
Good.
Everson Gilmoth, who was 77, and so he was the other one that they also charged. So she went and had 9 charges of murder. So the trial was actually very short, but the time that it took to get to trial was a lot longer. So by the time they arrested her, the actual pre-trial for everything started in 1990. They had to do a lot of investigation into it. There was a lot of different counties involved in trying to get all the information. So her trial actually started in 1993, and it was only like a month long, from like October to November, because there wasn't anything for them to say that she didn't do. So the defense stated, yeah, she's a thief, she's a liar, she steals all this money, but she didn't kill anybody. Like, that was their whole thing. They're like, look, she's just this old grandma and she didn't know how to get to life because, she was an orphan at 6 and, did all this stuff. So, like, the boohoo, poor me story, to try to get her off.
Yeah, so she really played them. Like, her whole facade, really. I mean, she's getting the best of all of the sweet people of the world, and just using that to her advantage, which I also think should be a punishment for capital murder. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, so this is her in prison. So this is after she's convicted. So she didn't look too happy there.
No. Okay, how old was she there? So she was born in 29.
Yeah. So 71?
71. I feel like she even looked like that when she said she was 70 when she was actually 50. Like, she had the same hair, the same,
yeah, it's like it's the same. It was like that was her. That was what she was portraying, and that's what she was going to go with. So unfortunately, the jury was actually deadlocked. They went for over a month just to get the penalty phase done, because they didn't know how they were going to find her guilty of. So they ended up finding her guilty of only 3 of the 9 murders. And the reason being is that they were only able to directly tie her to 3. So she was convicted for Everson Gilmoth, Ruth Monroe, and Leona Carpenter. Those had very strict ties, and it was very apparent. So they gave her first degree on the first 2 and second degree on the third one. So she was given 2 life sentences in the Central California Women's Facility in Chowchilla. So she wasn't going to get out even if they gave her like a 20-year sentence, but this was just a big win. And so she stayed there until her death in March of 2011, and she was 81 when she passed. So,
and it was what, natural causes? Like, no one beat her up? Like,
no, she died from natural causes. I guess that one beating when she went in before was supposed to take care of it. But no, so Clifton, no, she did not get guilty for the 6 in her yard. So what the prosecutors were saying, The reason they couldn't get guilty on all of them is because they couldn't directly tie her to putting them there and also drugging them. With the other three, it was very apparent, and there was evidence that can conclusively show that she was definitely a part of that. The other ones was basically they're there. We know they were tenants, but we can't prove it, unfortunately. So they went with the three. They got it, and she died in prison in 2011. So that is the story of Dorothea Puente. And I hope y'all enjoyed it. It
Good
was a
job,
little bit
Jen.
different on the flow of it. We kind of just went through from start to finish. So you could kind of get an overall view of the person through the story and the case. If you like that, let me know. If you have any suggestions of cases, you can definitely email womenofwhiskies@gmail.com. You can send me suggestions through Instagram. I am Jenny Rocks. You can find me there with wonderful sarcasm and liquor. It's fun.
It is fun. I love your Insta.
So definitely, we are always looking for new ideas, new cases, unsolved cases. You can throw them at me. I definitely like to research. You can ask Kira.
She does.
So it is a lot of fun. I want to thank all of you for being here and sticking it out for the last hour and 40 minutes. I want to thank Kira so much for sticking it out with me. We get triple Kira this week. She'll be on Friday, so check her out. We definitely want to visit.
Well, thank you so much for having me. This was so fun. Like this Dorothea Puente is all like it's just gotten me with that Netflix show, and it's on Ghost Adventures too. If any of y'all watch Ghost Adventures, they go to her house and they make contact with some of the ghosts there. It's pretty cool.
And the house is actually, you can do tours of the house. The city actually holds them. They say it's not the sin of the house, it's the sin of the people. But they do tours of the house in Sacramento. You can go to this house and do a tour.
Okay, that's gonna be on my but I want to go to that, and I want to go to the Winchester house so bad too.
The Winchester house is an interesting one. There's another one I want to go to, but it is like it's like a haunted place. So it used to be a fairgrounds, like in the early 20s. So in like people were killed like on different rides and stuff, but it's supposed to be haunted. So you like sit and like take little walks through it, and you're supposed to be able to like hear and do all this stuff. It's pretty crazy. It's on Morbid, so if you look on there, because they also do hauntings as well, and they talk through that whole one about like what happened on the carousel and like all this stuff. But like people say like it feels dark when you go there, like the vibes that you feel. So but you can do tours there as well.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm going to watch it or listen to it.
Yeah,
and do everything about it.
All right, let me know what you think.
I will.
Awesome. So I want to thank everybody for being here. I appreciate the mods for hanging out and dropping all the links. Thank you, Kira, for being here. It was awesome to see you. I love you very much. Tell David thanks for letting me borrow ya.
Yeah, he's fine. I got a headache tonight, so he's okay.
So it works out then. He's good.
Exactly.
So, all right. Well, I'll let you go. I know it's late. Oh, hey there, sexy man.
See, that's my headache right there.
She has the headache, no? It makes me angry.
What you gonna do then?
I'm gonna go to make the pizza the pie.
Yep, that's him.
All right. Well, it was awesome. Thank you so much, Kira. I appreciate it. You all have a wonderful night, and we will see you next week. I will be here with Adriana, and we will be doing another case and a cocktail next week. It is our criminals and cocktails for March. This was just a bonus episode. So definitely come back with us next week, and Adriana's going to be here. So we know that's going to be a lot of fun. Adriana's always a blast to have on as well. So I look forward to that. Yes. You all have a great night, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.